Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Sports for Champions podcast. Today I am joined by Isla. She's a Team GB alpine skier. Isla, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
How are you today?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. So Isla is actually just back from the Youth Olympics in Finland. Can you tell us a little bit about how that was?
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing experience really. It was my first multi-sport event. And then obviously racing against the top athletes in the world, it really kind of gave me a good feel for, where I am, and it was pretty amazing.
Awesome. And you're actually selected at 17. I know you've just turned 18 now. And how was that? Obviously, I think that's a year younger than is the norm for that kind of competition.
Yeah, so it was my year and the year above that Britain were kind of selecting, and at the start of the season I was ranked 4th out of my year and the year above, because there was 3 girls, 2003, that were ahead of me, and it's only 2 girls they select, so I was not sure if I was going to make it. I mean, obviously I had ambitions to get selected, but I managed to get a few races done, lower my points, and then I got selected, so it was pretty amazing.
So you had a big first place, I think, that kind of took you over the line. What was that competition?
Yeah, so in Belmonte in Italy, it was an NJR, which is under 21 race, and I managed to win that, which gave me, so it was a 2-day race. I came 3rd the first day. I was winning the first run, but then had a not so good second run, so went down to 3rd, but then the second day won it, and that gave me 2 low point scores, which kind of took me ahead of the few other girls, which was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is that the first competition of that kind that you have won?
Yeah, so that's the first, because then once I got to Fizz, obviously the level, every race is international and the levels are much stronger, that was my first win since I've been in Fizz, so it was pretty cool.
That's amazing. And how was it when you got the call that you'd been called up?
So I knew when the meeting was for the selection, and then we were actually travelling home after some races in Italy, and we were in the van, and I got the email, and because I was on the shortlist, I got told I'd get the email either way. So I saw the email and I was a bit like, oh, and then when I opened it, it was really cool. And then my coach as well, Christy, she was selected as one of the coaches to go, which just made it so much better. It was really cool.
That's awesome. That's so brilliant. And I think you were also the only Scottish athlete selected.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I was surprised actually, but it was really cool to kind of be the only one from Scotland and for my country. Yeah.
So I've got a Scottish family myself. I know that they take these things quite seriously up there. How is it? Do you feel the sort of the home pride behind you?
No, definitely. I think Scottish people, they are very kind of proud to be Scottish. So definitely. Like my parents are both English, so they always say, "Oh no, you're English, really," but no, I'm Scottish through and through. So it's pretty cool. That's
awesome. So tell me a little bit about the Youth Olympics. How did you go on in your competition?
Yeah, so I finished top 30 in the slalom, which was good. When I went in, I finished 30th, but when I went into the event, I was hoping for a top 30, but it was quite a different kind of course set and stuff that I wasn't used to. There were a few things that were challenging, and then we were racing it. I think run 1 was 2 o'clock and run 2 was 4 o'clock. It was, whereas usually we're racing like really early in the morning, and it was salted, so there's a lot of things that were a bit different, and the course was very open.
So what would be the difference in the course to what you were used to?
Usually, my coach said it's very short courses, so that it's it's not very open, so there's not a lot of space, so everything's quite quick. But it was very open, so there was a lot of time, so I found myself kind of in between getting a bit like, right, what do I do in myself? So I was kind of adding movements in that I didn't really need to be doing. Whereas then the coaches watched the video back after run 1 and were like, right, you don't need to be doing that. So then I kind of changed a few things for run 2, which then it was much better in my run 2. But I think my coach said I had a good approach to it. It was a bit challenging with a few different things, but no.
And what's the difference when the course is salted?
So if it's cold enough, they'll usually inject it, because you want the slope to be icy so it holds up well and you can get good pressure and stuff. But so if it's cold enough, they'll inject it with water, or just water it. But because it was really warm over there, they salted it instead to try and kind of get it to freeze a bit. So they salted it, which is, yeah, it's just different. It's not bad, it's just different. But yeah.
That's awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about your sort of mindset while you're racing? I think a lot of skiers say to sort of empty your head and not have to have too many thoughts, and you kind of alluded to that on your first race.
Yeah. So what I kind of do, because obviously every race the course is different, so we obviously do a lot of visualization. You inspect the course, and then I'll, after inspect it, run through in my head multiple times. But then when I get to the top of the race, a couple people before, I'll still be running through the course knowing like the key points, but then see when I go into the start, it's just, yeah, everything, you need to clear your head. I'll look, as I get into start gate, I'll look a few gates ahead, and I'll just, yeah, need to really just I'll only focus on them the next few gates. And yeah.
So you say visualization, do you spend a lot of time sort of in your own head thinking about your body position and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so like kind of what line I'll be taking. Obviously you've got lots of different combinations, and where I need to be kind of getting a good line to set up for the next section of the course, that kind of thing, yeah.
That's really cool. And would you take anything away from your performance this time round? I know you won your first race, so obviously, but then I think your team didn't make enough qualifications to progress to the next round.
Yeah, so in the team event, you still race against one person individually, but it's like head to head. So I raced against one of the Polish girls, and then the boys race against the boys, but you still just do it individually. And you need to try and win your race, and I won my race, but then we didn't get enough wins in our team to qualify, so we didn't manage to progress through. But it was a good experience. It was just a shame. So one of the boys crashed, and he was winning his, so that was unlucky. But yeah, it was still a really cool experience. It would have been nice to get through to the next round, but yeah, no, it was still a good experience.
Awesome. And I guess, is there anything that you take away from your performance? I know you won, but is there anything maybe you'd do differently the next time you're at that kind of competition?
No, not really. I mean, a team event like that is really cool because you don't get it very often. Most races are just individuals. It's only really big events like World Champs and Olympics and stuff that you get them. So no, it was cool to be kind of doing it as a team. Like when we inspected the course, we're inspecting it together, and yeah, no, I think it was a cool experience, and to kind of just make the most of that kind of thing, 'cause you don't get it very often. So yeah.
That's awesome. I know you've been competing from a young age. When did you actually first get into skiing?
So I first started skiing just before I turned 3, on a family ski holiday, and then that's kind of where I learned to ski originally, and then I did a lot on the local dry ski slope back home, and that's where I kind of got into racing when I was about 5 or 6, doing dry slope races, which is how I got into the racing side of it.
And did you take to it straight away? Was it sort of an instant thing?
Yeah, so my brother actually did a bit of racing when he was younger as well, on the dry slope, and he always used to go to race training, and I always wanted to get into race training, and you had to do a trial to get in, so I always wanted to get into race training. And then once you get in, there was a lot of like progression through the club there. They did camps away and went to the English champs and stuff, so I always wanted to do that. So there was like, I always saw that I wanted to kind of do the next thing with them, so yeah.
So I guess it'd almost be all you've ever known, really, because from the age of 3, I imagine, that's pretty much all.
Yeah, because quite often lots of people say to me, "Oh, but do you remember learning?" But I never remember learning to ski. They'll say, "Oh no, but didn't you find it hard when you first learned?" But because I was so young, I don't remember learning.
That's amazing. Would you say that you've always been particularly athletic?
Yeah, I did. When I was younger, I did loads of sports. I used to play pro youth football, ran for the west of Scotland, used to do lots of triathlon. Yeah, me and my sister just kind of did loads of sports when we were younger, so yeah.
Wow, so in school, I imagine pretty much anything you tried your hand at.
Yeah, definitely. I just loved all sports, really.
That's awesome. And you said a little bit about your family there. Are you all quite sporty?
Yeah, so my little sister especially, we've always done the same sports too. So she's always skied as well, and so we kind of always done the same sports together, so yeah.
And when did you first realise that you had that talent? So I imagine the first time that you went for trials for racing or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always I've always wanted to be a skier. Like for as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a ski racer, and that's kind of been my dream. I remember the first kind of race that I ever properly did well at was at the English Championships in Bormio, in Italy, and I was so young, and I just kind of, now everything's so serious, but I think I just went and did it and didn't even think twice about it, and I was the year down and I won, and I think it was maybe under 10 or under 12, and
wow.
And I just I just loved it, and that was kind of when I knew I wanted to do it.
That's awesome. And I was going to ask you, do you remember the first time you went on a black run? But I'm guessing you were probably about 4 years old, so you don't.
Yeah, no, don't remember that, no.
That's amazing. What's been your steepest learning curve as you've sort of progressed into more professional racing?
I think kind of the whole process, kind of, I'm not very good at rest and recovery, and I think you need to understand that it's all you can't just pick and choose the bits you want to do. Like recovery, rest, that kind of thing, it's all part of it, and you can't just keep pushing, and just because you want to train every day, you need to take the days off and recover too, which is something I struggle a bit with, but yeah.
What does a recovery day look like for you?
Well, quite often right now, if I do a recovery day, I'll try and I'll maybe go for a jog, do some stretching, and then when we're away a lot, we'll maybe do an ice bath. We'll just go find a river, glacial, melt water, and we'll get an ice bath or something. But yeah.
How are you with the cold? I imagine it's fairly second nature.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, living in Scotland, that probably helps too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Awesome. And when was the first moment that you realised that this is going to be my whole life? Was there a race in particular where you kind of set in stone for you, this is what you're going to be doing?
I don't think so. No, I think I always I could always just see myself being a skier. But I don't think I don't remember it just happening at one point. I do remember when I first learned to carve, because I was trying to get into the race training, and I used to go down some days at the weekend, and I'd go down to the dry slope because I had a membership, and I remember I was trying to learn how to carve, and then I remember when it just clicked.
What's carving, sorry?
So that's when you go on your edges, and that's what I kind of think I needed to do to get into race training. So I remember I used to go down and practice all the time, and I remember doing it, and I was the only one on the slope at the time, and then my mum was in the clubhouse getting a coffee, and I was shouting, I was like, Mum, I did it, I can do it.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
So is there anything in particular that really motivates you? Because obviously I imagine it's quite arduous training, there's a lot of potential for injuries. Is there anything particular that motivates you to kind of push on?
I think the thing about skiing is I just love doing it. I don't find it a chore at all. See, when I'm at home and my alarm goes off to wake up for school, I'm oh. But see, if I'm waking up to go skiing, even though we're waking up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes, I'm I'll jump out of bed because I just love doing it. So I don't find that I have to I struggle for motivation for skiing. And then in the gym as well, I love all that, but I know that I'm doing that to help my skiing, so yeah.
That's amazing. And have you had any sort of injury setbacks or anything like that have sort of caused a bit of an issue with it?
Yeah, so the season that just went, I was really lucky and didn't get any injuries, but a few seasons back I've had a few. I had a back injury that went on a while, and it was kind of up and down, and then I've had quite a few concussions as well, which were annoying because some of them were quite bad, where I'd crashed and then I was dizzy and stuff, so I couldn't really do a lot. But it's when when you're not allowed to do training, you have to do the gradual phase return, and yeah, that was quite difficult to and then you see your peers, because I was at an international ski academy in France at the time, so I'm in the academy, not allowed to go training, and I'm seeing all my peers going out, which is a bit difficult. But yeah.
I bet, yeah. Obviously it's really important, the concussion protocols that they have brought in. Is that something fairly recent in skiing?
Yeah, I know since, I've had a few, but I know since I've had concussions over the past kind of 2 years, they've had them protocols and had to follow them, so yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about your training, how often you train and what that kind of looks like?
Yeah, so throughout the summer we're kind of back and forward quite a lot, out to do training on glaciers or indoors, but it'll be quite intense when we're there. And then when we come home, we don't do really any skiing. It's just gym work and cardio, that kind of thing. So when we're away in the summer, it's really quite intense, because if we're on the glaciers, you're up really early in the morning because you need to be up there, and you'll be finished skiing by midday.
So when you say the glaciers, where would that be?
So Saas-Fee in Switzerland, or like Stelvio in Italy, or Teen Val d'Isere. There's a few kind of around Europe that I go to. So that's kind of the main places we train.
That's awesome. I've actually been to Val d'Isere. It's an amazing place.
Yeah.
Like I think that you can see Mount Blanc quite prominently.
Yeah.
Have you got a favourite place that you like to go out to when you're doing that kind of training?
Not really, no. I mean, I quite like Saas-Fee Glacier is good. But then I think I just kind of not really got a favourite. I like going lots of different places to get different pieces and stuff, yeah.
That's awesome. And what's your gym training schedule look like? What sort of things do you work on?
So when we're away, like for example, in the summer training, when we're skiing, we don't do a lot when we're out there because of it's quite intense with all the skiing, so we mainly just do kind of bodyweight type stuff, and stuff like that, or maybe some speed and agility. But then when I'm back home, I train at the Institute of Sport at the Emirates.
Oh wow.
So
what's that like?
So a mix of, we need to do a lot of different kind of training for skiing. So we'll do strength in the summer. Like now it's quite a big strength block to get strong for next season, but also plyometrics, speed and agility, cardio. So a bit of a mix of everything.
I imagine the facilities there are amazing. Can you tell me a little bit about what it's like at the Institute?
So at the Emirates we've got a really good gym in there, so it's got a few platforms, it's got everything we need in there, and then
and then a little bit about your lifestyle. Do you keep healthy in your off season, or is it kind of around competition times? How do you...
No, it's all year round for me, I'm an athlete, and that kind of is important the whole year round. So through the Institute I also get nutrition support, performance lifestyle advisor, sports psychologist, get all that through the Institute as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which is, it's a great kind of system they've got. For example in the summer, now I've just finished school, so it gives me a lot of time to get my training, but also stretch, foam roll, meal prep, all that kind of stuff that's really important too, which is good at this time of year when you've got the time to do it.
How do you find the nutrition side of things? Is that something that you've got an interest in anyway?
Yeah, since I was young I've always been really interested in nutrition, and then I've done quite a lot of work with nutritionists over the few years actually, to kind of build up a good kind of training diet type stuff, which is something I'm really interested in, and I think it's good.
Have you got any favourites? Anything in particular you like, your go-to meal?
Not really, no. I like cooking too, which is good, because then I enjoy kind of preparing meals and stuff.
That's awesome. Do you have maybe a favourite cheat meal, maybe after a competition or something like that?
Not really. I feel a bit guilty if I eat rubbish or anything, so I just,
Not even a burger after a big competition?
So I was vegetarian for the past I think 2 years. I was vegetarian, and then because of when I'm away training it's not always easy to get everything you need, so I eat so now I eat fish and chicken as well, but I was going to say, because obviously you're expending so much energy, tearing your muscle fibres and stuff like that, I imagine you're going to have quite a lot of protein. I was struggling when I went away on camps to get enough protein, so that's why I started to eat fish and chicken as well, because it was a bit easier, whereas when I'm at home I can get all the protein from beans, pulses, all that kind of stuff, and I can make sure I'm getting enough, whereas when you're away sometimes you don't have much choice, so I had to kind of adapt that bit.
I can imagine. It sounds like you have quite a structured life, and you're kind of quite limited in terms of what you can do outside of training and stuff like that. Would you say that the life of a sort of professional sports person is quite challenging?
Yeah, I think it is, but a lot of people say, there's so many sacrifices, and when you think about it there is, but I don't really see it as sacrifices, because of all the amazing stuff I'm getting to do, going to Finland to the Youth Olympics this year was so amazing. I don't really see it as sacrifices, but it can be challenging, when you've got training the next day and your friends are wanting to go do stuff, sometimes you do have to make sacrifices, but it's kind of to do what you love, so
You do seem very focused. I know, sort of coming into the age you're at now, some of our other athletes have talked about some of the pressures from more socially. starts to come into things a little bit more.
Yeah.
What do you think around that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, because I mean, I've just finished school now, and you want to keep socialising, but you might get pressure to drink and that kind of thing a bit more. But I mean, I think I am quite strict with that kind of stuff. So I'm fine with just saying like, no, I need to train the next day, or even just say I'm driving home or whatever, and just to yeah.
What's the goal? Presumably, because obviously you are very focused, and there are a lot of sacrifices to be made. What is sort of on the pedestal is what you're working towards?
Well, I would like to get selected for the Olympics, the main Olympics. But also I think in skiing, kind of World Cup's bigger.
The World Cup's bigger than the Olympics?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously it's pretty cool for any athlete to be like, I went to the Olympics. But yeah, the World Cup circuit in racing is quite big. But also, I mean, hopefully towards the end of next season or the following season, working my way into Europe Cup and then World Cup. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And is there anyone in your sport that you look up to in particular?
Yeah, Michaela Schifrin's definitely one that I've always looked up to, because she's a great athlete, and then also like the past kind of few years she's had a few challenges, but she's came back from them, which is really cool. But then I also watch, when I'm kind of watching for technique, I watch Petra Vlhova because she's quite tall, so yeah, it's good for me to watch her for technique and stuff.
So are you quite tall for that competition kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't think like skiing's not really a sport that you'd say being tall or being small is like an advantage or disadvantage. But yeah, I mean I'm quite tall, so it's just little things that are a bit different when I'm watching technique. It makes more sense watching a taller athlete.
What would be the technique tweaks that you would do as a taller athlete?
Well, it's just like kind of hip position as well, stuff like that, and then a few like things that you need to like in verticalities and stuff like that. For me,
Cool. So a little bit of a change of pace here. Can you tell me about the unicycle?
Yeah. So I think I was quite young when I learned. I saw someone doing. I think we were in a ski resort actually. I remember seeing someone going down the stairs on a unicycle, and I was so amazed.
Downstairs.
So I saved up my money to buy one. I remember it took me ages to save up my money for it as well, so I must have been pretty young because they're not very expensive. But yeah, and then taught myself, and it did take me a long time to learn. I remember like every day I'd be going out and I was just getting nowhere with it. But now I do it quite a lot. I think it's a good thing. It's good for balance and stuff for skiing, but also just something to chill a bit. But I like challenging myself. So for example, like I'll go downstairs or try and because I can juggle too, so I'll do it while juggling.
I was going to say I mean juggling's one thing, unicycle's another thing, but to put the two together, I imagine that's it's quite, you have to be in some sort of flow state, I imagine, really, to sort of.
So I think it's good for my balance, for my training, but also it is just like I like challenging myself, and it's something that I find and like I enjoy doing. So yeah.
That's awesome. And then have you ever tried any sort of other things with transferable skills? So if your balance is quite good, you'd imagine like surfing and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I have done some surfing and stuff before, but we do, I think as well, skiers do a lot of like slackline and stuff as well. So yeah, no, I think
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you do to try and make practice fun?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, no, not really.
Fair enough, that's okay. And do you have a favourite sporting quote?
Probably hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Right, that's actually funny because quite a lot of our athletes have said that exact quote to me. Is there anything in particular that you think about the role of talent and the role of hard work, and maybe that relates to you?
Yeah, I think like people always say, if you're good at sport, they're always like, you're so talented, and like a lot of it might be talent, but I think also then it's not just the talent, it's the hard work, getting up early to go training and that kind of thing. So I think like I wouldn't be where I am without the hard work, and I think that's what, if I ever see athletes that I know that are strong, then I'm thinking that I need to put in that extra, do them extra reps or whatever to get the edge over other athletes.
So yeah, And how would that work while you were at school? Because you've just left now, obviously. How was it fitting training around your other commitments?
Yeah, so it is challenging. I did miss quite a lot of school this year for competition, but also it was quite an important year for me because I was doing my hires in school, so I had to kind of try and adapt. So I didn't get to go to the British Champs at the end of the season because that was kind of really too close to my exams. But so when I was at home, I'd be at the Emirates, in the morning before school, and then or after school, trying to fit in where I could the sessions. But yeah, it is challenging, but
It's interesting that you prioritised is the hires the equivalent of A levels in England, is it?
Yeah, so we do hires and then advanced hires, whereas I think you just A levels, so it's kind of like half of it, I guess.
Yeah, so it's kind of split into two in A levels as well. So how important is it that you gained an education, like to you personally?
Well, for my parents, it's always been very important, education, and they've always said education comes first. And as much as I'd have loved to just go to the British, because it was straight after Youth Olympics, and I really wanted to try and go for the overall in the under 18, that kind of thing. I think this was like one kind of set of races I had to sacrifice, and then that's me now finished school. Whereas if I'd have maybe went to the British and then didn't do so well in exams, I might have to reset a few. So in long term, I think it was the right decision. It's hard at the time to make it, but yeah, now I've hopefully done okay in my exams. Got to wait and see, and then I can ski full time next season, which is cool.
Best of luck for your exam results.
Thanks.
And would you say that being a professional athlete has made you a better person more generally?
Yeah, I think I get to know so many people, and then also you might be with some people that you don't like so much, but you're kind of, as an athlete, sometimes you're stuck with people, but so you kind of get to know different people, and I think it kind of helps you see kind of qualities in people or things maybe you see maybe it isn't so good, so it helps you as a person, I think.
Would you say you've got good resilience?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
What do you think about skiing requires that, and how does it relate to the wider world?
Well, I think skiing's quite a tough sport because you make the slightest, tiniest mistake and then you're out. So I mean, I think at the start of this season in the Super G, I came out both days in the Super G, so I was quite frustrated.
When you came out, what does that mean?
So like DNF, so either crash or you just make mistakes so you don't finish the course, because you can slalom's the only discipline that you can hike and go back into the course, but obviously it's such small time margins that if you hike you're out the race. So so I came out in both the Super Gs, but I was then going into another 4 days of racing, so I had to, although I was frustrated, I had to then kind of focus on the next few days of racing and see that I could still do well in them and not let that affect the rest of my racing. So
there's such fine margins. Is there anything you do in particular to really focus yourself in before these competitions? Perhaps do you have any music that you listen to or something like that?
No, I don't tend to listen to music too much before a race, but I think I do a lot of stuff in the start. I think the visualization is a big part for me, and then but I focus on the kind of main, so when I'm inspecting the course I'll have key points in the course that I know, it might be the line into a verticale or exit of a verticale. There might be something specific that I know I need to focus on, and I think I kind of focus on them a lot in the start and stuff.
And is there any way that you might celebrate after a good performance?
I mean, quite often straight after a race we'll be travelling, so for example in Biamonte, after I won, we then were travelling 3 hours back to where we were based, so quite often we'll just be in the van and getting the tunes on and just having a bit of a laugh. So
And how would you calm your butterflies as you sort of stood on that? Oh, first of all, actually, do you get butterflies?
Yeah, so I definitely do, which is something I do get nervous, but then I kind of just want to do my best. So I think it's been something I've been trying to work on over the past kind of year, to be able to focus. I think focusing on them key points in the course is something that definitely helps, because if I've got something to focus on, I think that helps. And then, you know, going through my warm-up routine, I think I've got quite a structured routine, and I think that helps with that.
What would your warm-up routine look like?
So I do some juggling and start sometimes, because obviously if you're juggling you can't exactly be focusing on much else. And then all like my leg swings.
Sorry, so you take the juggling balls up the mountain with you,
Yeah.
and literally stand at the top of the mountain
Yeah.
juggling. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that helps. Once I've kind of done all my warm up, then when I'm doing that, that's the only thing I can focus on, which helps sometimes just to clear my mind. And then I'll do some more visualization and yeah.
So would you have any advice for somebody who's looking to just get into skiing, perhaps somebody who's quite young and never put on a pair of skis before?
I mean, well, it's a fun sport. I mean, it's not for everyone, but definitely if you're enjoying it, then I'd say keep at it and keep like enjoying it. You know, that's the most important thing. So yeah.
And what about perhaps would you have any advice for somebody who's looking to take sport to the next level? I mean, obviously you're fully committed, stringent training regime, etc. What would you say to somebody who's maybe looking at that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's important that you are focused in the sport, but I think also to make sure, as I said, you're enjoying it, because I think it's when people start to kind of just be doing it for the sake of doing it, it's when they then aren't enjoying it, so then aren't performing. So I think making sure you're enjoying it and finding time to do the things that you enjoy alongside of it, so that yeah, you keep performing.
And what do you have coming up for the rest of the year?
So that's the kind of ski season over now. So this is like now quite a big important time for like strength and conditioning. So now that I've finished school, I'm gonna be really, you know, focusing on all that. And then I think towards the end of June I've got my first camp, and that'll be glaciers, and then I'll be kind of back and forward throughout the summer, glacier training, indoor training, yeah, and then leading up to next season. So yeah.
Awesome. I mean, I imagine it's quite difficult to find snow, obviously, during the summer. Is that why you go to a glacier? What is the difference between a glacier and...
Well, so glaciers, well, they're pretty much open. Well, they're not open all year round, but like they have like facilities to be able to stay open throughout the summer. So we'll go to a few different glaciers, but then also there's a few indoor places that are really good, kind of almost built for racing. So in Pier in Belgium there's a good one, and in Lithuania, so there's a few good indoor places which are good for training too. So yeah.
Awesome. And what would a successful winter 2022 into 2023 look like?
So I'm definitely looking forward to being able to ski the full year without having to worry about going back to school, and when I'm out there being able to ski and then come back and do some recovery, and rather than just having to hit the book straight away. So I'm really looking forward to see what I'll be able to do this season. Hopefully lower my points, and then maybe the following season be able to do some Europa Cups is kind of my plan, yeah.
Awesome. And could we maybe talk a little bit about Sports for Champions and the role that might be able to play? Obviously, all this sort of winter training and things like that, it sounds quite expensive.
Yeah.
And as you've said, you're going to be 100% full-time professional. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely, skiing is not the cheapest of sports as well. So I've been trying to get, you know, sponsorship to help fund for next season. But I think as well this Sport for Champions is a great opportunity as well, because I think I really like to be able to kind of try and inspire like the next generation. So I think it's quite cool because I can be trying to earn a bit of money to go towards my skiing, but also it's something I enjoy, and talking about sport and trying to inspire like kids is something that I look forward to.
Awesome. And then we ask this to everybody. Do you by any chance have a mantra, maybe something that you repeat to yourself in competition, or maybe even a lesson for life, that kind of thing?
Pretty much in the start I just kind of tell myself full send, you know.
What's the thought behind that?
Just, you know, I don't want to hold anything back, because if I get to the bottom, and as I said, skiing is such small margins, if I've gone down, I might have, because I had a bit of a tendency a few years back, and I'd go and I'd have a clean run, which is nice to be like, oh yeah, I didn't make any mistakes, but it's slow, and then you see your time and you're like, damn. So I don't want to be at the bottom regretting my run. I just want to be able to kind of go all out, and then it is a tough sport, as I said, coming out, but you know, gotta try and accept that and move on. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for sharing your insights.
Thank you for having me,
That was really interesting. And also thank you for joining us. It's been another episode of the Sports for Champions podcast, and we'll see you next time. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did, be sure to leave us a like and a subscribe, and check out all our other videos for some more great interviews and content. Bye.